I'm sorry, we're good.
We're ready.
All right, already ninth grade. I know it's 6th hour and we're ready to get out of here, but before we get out of here, we gotta talk a little bit about government. And within this, we're gonna be talking about the 3 branches of government and how they impact law. Firstly, we start with the legislative branch. Now, can anybody tell me what the legislative branch does? Yes.
Draws or writes the laws.
Yes, the biggest thing that the legislative branch does is create law. And within the legislative branch, the main thing that comes to mind is Congress. And within Congress, Congress is known as a bicameral system. Does anyone know what the word bicameral means?
2.
Yes, 2. Cameral, any guesses here? Houses. So within the legislative branch, within Congress, there is the House of Representatives and there is also the Senate. House of Representatives, each state gets 1 representative per 30,000 people, and in the Senate, there are 2 representatives for each state. There are 435 representatives of the House, and there are 100 senators. Now the executive branch. The executive branch, can anybody take a wild guess here and say what they do with law? Any takers, any takers. So you can't say nothing. That would be accurate sometimes. The executive branch enforces law. And within the executive branch, you have the president. And underneath the president, you have the cabinet. And traditionally with the cabinet are 14 department heads and the vice president. And these department heads actually, though, we joke around that they don't do anything. The executive branch, I would argue with you, is the most important one. But that's up for you to decide with an assignment later. But the executive branch, within the agencies, they can decide what laws they want to go through with Congress. Like, oh yeah, we're all on your side for this one. Or it could be like, nah, we're not going to do that. We don't like it. But also, the department agencies, they don't create law, but they can create regulation. And regulation can carry the same weight as law. And so though Congress creates law, and they're the ones that are like, yeah, let's say for example, we're gonna say guns are legal. Let's go with guns are legal across the board. The executive branch can go, well, how about no, we don't feel like it. And they're just not gonna enforce it. Because the executive branch has the bureaucracy, and that also falls under the military. So those when you think of enforced laws, falls under the executive branch in some kind of degree. Now, last but certainly not least, it's the judicial branch. Now, when you hear judicial branch, can you tell me what comes to mind?
Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court, exactly. The Supreme Court and the judicial branch, they interpret law. So they really go about what does the law mean? And the biggest thing within the judicial branch is the Supreme Court. Though federal courts are important too, those are going to be a completely different topic we get to eventually. The Supreme Court, they tell you what does the law mean. And does anybody know how many justices are in the Supreme Court? 9, yes. And how long are they there?
Forever.
Exactly. They can be there forever. They could be there for a day. They could be there for 70 years. And the judicial branch simply can go about and look at a law that Congress passes. And they can go, we don't think that fits with the Constitution. Because people always have different interpretations of the Constitution. Some want to be really close to it. Some are like, we don't even care about it. And from there, they can tell Congress, or they can even tell the executive branch, hey, Congress, your law, it's sort of unconstitutional. You gotta change it. Or they can tell the executive branch, hey, you have to either A, enforce it, or B, you have to stop enforcing it. It's not right. Can anybody think of any famous Supreme Court cases you ever heard of?
Roe versus Wade.
Roe versus Wade, exactly. That talks about abortion and how that has to be categorized under constitutional law. There's also great examples. I'm done. Here are my goals and points. 2:19, the bell rang.